Hello and welcome. We're here today to talk to Laura Boucher about marine conservation. So, you're interested in conservation, but what's your particular area of interest?
My particular area of interest is in the conservation of killer whales.
Oh, and what makes that so important to you?
Well, killer whales have obviously got a lot of controversy surrounding them due to their captive conditions. They're one of the only species in a habitat that doesn't match their natural environment, and so they often die young, become stressed, and as I'm sure people have heard, they've often killed trainers in their tanks. So obviously I'm interested in it because it's something that needs to stop. They need to be in an environment that suits them, where they're happy and nobody's getting hurt.
One such as our oceans then, yeah?
Exactly.
So what do you think of the state of our oceans?
Well, there's lots of problems at the moment affecting killer whales and turtles alike, such as overfishing. I know is a big problem. Obviously with killer whales it's a large food source, and I believe with turtles they get caught in the nets quite a lot. Not to mention the effects of pollution and even tour groups going out to see these animals. You know, they're disturbing them when they go into their habitats, whether it would be even in a boat or in a diving group.
Absolutely, there are a lot of cases where boats try and get closer and closer to turtles and end up actually hitting them with the propellers, cause some quite devastating damage. So before we spoke about doing this interview, were you aware of the fact that turtles were so endangered?
I knew they were endangered, but I wasn't aware of any species-specific endangerment. I don't know whether it's all the species or just some. I've no clue, to be honest.
Well, what's happened is they were originally only a few species, such as the loggerhead, were listed as endangered, but now all of them are listed as critically endangered, and there's quite a lot of worry about every single one. So, as you weren't particularly aware and you're interested in marine conservation, do you think there's a lack of public awareness if someone as informed as you wasn't aware?
Oh, definitely. I mean, in some areas, obviously people know quite a lot about something, but they only tend to learn from when they visit parks, aquariums, and generally people are only told what's considered the kind of pretty side of conservation, so that they become interested, but they don't know what's really going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's it. That's an interesting point. I mean, do you think that's the best way forward for conservation, or do you think there's a better way?
I definitely think there's a better way of informing people. I mean, obviously having the animals on display is always going to be more interesting than reading it in a book. But I think if you did more, maybe news around them, more documentaries and stuff, people would become interested on their own without having it forced on them.
And being more informed, which is obviously important. So would you say you disagree with ex situ conservation with the animals kept in captivity, such as aquariums or zoos?
Not in all cases now. I mean, generally I think they are better off in their natural wild habitats. But if an animal's endangered, then sometimes it needs the help of an outside group. And like we said before, it's the only way people really learn about an animal at the moment.
Yeah. It's definitely important for that. So do you think it would be good to phase out captivity for healthy animals and just take in animals that were, say, injured and unable to live in the wild, as is the case in a number of turtles actually are kept that way?
Again, I think it depends on whether they're endangered or not. If in such species as the turtle it might be really healthy, but if it's only one of 10 left, then it's probably best to have it in captivity where you can make sure it gets the best care, the best health care and a constant supply of food, etc., whatever it needs.
You make an excellent point. I think it's, like you say, it's subjective depending on the individual. So there's a practice at the moment where turtles are bred in captivity, and then a certain percentage are released, but the rest are then sold as meat, shell and other products for public consumption. Do you think that creating a market for something that can't afford to have a market is sensible in light of it being critically endangered?
Oh, definitely not, in no way. There should be no farm for turtle in that respect in any way. However, obviously if you make something like illegal, then there's always going to be a black market for something. So it's very difficult to make people stop doing something when they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about creating regulations and making sure they're as well enforced as possible, but it's always quite difficult, isn't it?
Exactly.
And I think we're going to have to leave it on that note as we've run out of time. Thank you for listening and goodbye.